So yesterday we discussed we introduced the concept of research. When we were discussing what is research, what are the different types of research, and what is the research cycle. So today I'm going to share with you some templates or which are very important for us at the institute, which we use for our research process. So these are the steps which we expect you guys to follow when you are now doing your when you are now conducting your research. If you go to your module and you go on page 21 of your module, you will see these steps. You will see these steps illustrated. So the first one is the appendix. They are part of the appendices of your module. So the first appendix is appendix 1. So in appendix 1, there's the steps in conducting research. These are the steps which you expect you guys to follow. So the first step which we expect you to do is to write what we call a concept note. And a concept note is just a summary of your research problem. And you just summarize your research problem. What is your research problem? So it's just a summary. Before you really proceed to develop a full proposal, you need to kind of really let us know of your idea. What is this idea which you want to research on? So we will give you the format of how you're supposed to write this concept notes, which is just a summary of your research. Then if your idea of the research, which is a concept note, is acceptable, you then proceed to develop a research proposal now, which is a full document, which is outlining step by step what you are going to do in your research. And so you outline every step, what is your problem, where are you going to do the research, and all the steps which are required in conducting a research. So the proposal will summarize all those things in detail. Then if you remember, your proposal include everything, including the permissions that you are going to get to conduct the research. It also includes the data collection tools which you are going to use. Remember, when we discussed yesterday, before you start conducting research, you need to plan, and you need to plan the whole process, how you are going to conduct this research, where are you going to do it, who are you going to ask, what are the questions you are going to ask. And so as part of the proposal, it has all those things outlined. You don't just go and start to do research before planning those things. So you go out, you plan those issues. Then when you plan those issues now, you can then go out and start doing your research. Since I say the proposal contains all the specific steps which you're going to take to develop your research, most of the research work is all about data collection. So when your proposal is approved and you're through, you then go to the next stage of data collection. You then go and start collecting your data according to the procedures and the steps which you outlined in your research, in your research proposal. So after collecting your data, what do? You analyze your data. So you analyze your data. Then after analyzing your data, you then write now a research project about your data. Then from there, if you write your research project of your data, you then submit your final research project. If you check on these steps, step number 1 up to step number 6, there are some of the things like your concept note, it's supposed to be approved before you proceed to develop a full proposal. So this concept note is supposed to be submitted into our system, which we will soon develop passwords for you so that you can be able to submit these things. So your concept note is submitted into Moodle when you're through with it. Then your proposal is also supposed to be submitted in this online system. Then your research proposal, you submit a hard copy and a soft copy for marking, and you also submit another soft copy in our online platform, where every student is supposed to have their things submitted. So let's understand this, this process very, very clear. Because we have had problem with students who don't understand this process, where they talk of chapters. Now I'm writing chapter 1, I'm writing chapter 2, I'm writing chapter 3, I'm writing chapter 4. It's not about chapters. Research is about following these steps, where you have a concept note, which is your idea. Then if your idea is approved, you proceed to write a proposal, and it's about that idea. You collect your data, you analyze your data, you write your research project, and which is now chapters now. Chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4, chapter 5. Then when your research is approved, you then submit your final research project for marking. So we'll go step by step, until you reach to the final step, which is step number 6. So the next appendix is 12 on page 22. It shows the structure of a concept note. And this is, so a concept note, as I said, you need to have an idea of what is the research which you want to do. And you just have some idea, but I want to do a research. So you write a 1-page, just trying to tell us, your lecturers and supervisors, what is this idea about? So usually for this concept note, we expect it to have a topic. We expect it to have your topic. What is this topic which you are looking into? Then we have a brief, a 1 paragraph, a very short paragraph, telling us the problem statement. What is this problem which you want to research? And you give us a brief background information, and where is this problem happening, in which city, in which clinic, in which community, who is affected by the problem, where and how, what is the magnitude of this problem. The same things which we were discussing yesterday about writing a problem statement. Then you put a bit of some statistics, what are the numbers of people who are affected, where are they affected, for those statistics, let us know the data sources, where you're getting the data sources, the duration of that, the duration of those problems. Then from there, you give us a brief justification. I think I'll give you an example where you need to justify why you want to do this research. Very short paragraph. Then from there, you write a research question. You write broad, what is your main objective or broad objective? You write specific objectives. Then you write your methods, 1 or 2 sentences on the following issues. In terms of where do you want to do your study, what is the study design, study participants, data collection, data analysis. So these things from research question, broad objectives, specific objectives, and methodology, we are going to discuss these things in detail and how we are supposed to do it. But when you are writing your concept note, you are just summarizing those things in short. So this is the concept, is the idea. You are telling us, I want to do my research, but for this research which I want to do, you tell us briefly this idea, and you summarize on 1 page using those following subheadings. When your idea is approved, you go to the next stage now, where you write a full proposal now, and you are now expanding that idea, where you are going to write a full proposal, and you are now expanding that now to say, we can't say, you can't start by writing the whole proposal. Let's say you're writing the whole proposal on an idea which is on, so it not make a lot of sense. So for you to write a proposal of what you want to really do, you can only proceed to write that big document of proposing what you want to do, after the idea is been approved. So the concept note is just the idea. So this is the structure now of a full proposal, where you've got your title page, your table of contents. If you've got any tables or figures, you show us. Then you've got an introduction, and you introduce your topic. What is this topic? You tell us about the background. Then the problem statement. Remember the problem statement, which you might have developed as part of your concept notes. What is that problem? You put the same problem statement in your proposal, but you just expand it now to make sure maybe it's more words, and you're putting some more information. You now have a separate section for justifying of your study. Why do you want to do your study? Then the research question, the objectives, broad and specific, which were a part of your concept note, are this. You then put them here as the same objective, and it's the same thing. You are building on your thing. You're starting your thing smaller, but you're now expanding your idea to make sure it's fully fledged. So you take the same research question, the same objectives, the same broad objectives and specific objectives. Then you then put all those other elements now in your proposal, your delimitation of the study. If you've got any terms and the terms which you are using in your study, you put those terms. You do your literature review now for the topic which you're looking into, where you're now reading more, so that we understand your literature review. And we'll discuss this. How do you do your literature review, and how do you organize it? Then you have a section on the methods, on the methodology, how you are going to do your research in detail. Remember, in the concept note, you are just writing those things briefly, but in the proposal, you are now expanding now, and you're telling us you start the setting, you write more, you start the design, you start the participants, who are you going to include in terms of sampling, and we will discuss this in detail. Remember, we said in a research, you don't start the whole population, but you take a small sample which you use for your population. Then, you're going to do your study variables. What things are you going to collect information of? Then how you're going to collect your data, and your questionnaires, your whatever method you're going to use to collect your data. Then how you're going to analyze your data. If you plan these things before, you plan these things before conducting the research. Then the permission and ethical issues which you are going to know, and ethics which you are going to consider. So that will be your methodology. Then from your methods, you tell us the budget which you need to conduct this research. You tell us the timelines, for the period which you are going to take and to do the research. You put your references as you write your proposal. You also include references, and you include what references, and you cite and you quote as you write. Then there is you put appendices now at the end. Proposal. What are these appendices? You don't just have to go and start doing a research without getting permission from the clinic, and you write letters, you get permission, you put those permission, you put the tools which you are going to use to collect data. If you are going to collect using a questionnaire or an interview guide, depending on the type of research which you want to do, you put those as part of the appendices. Then you have your concept note. Remember, we always want to make sure your concept note is always in appendices, because remember, we want to avoid you guys. We have this problem within the college where people cheat a lot, and there's a lot of cheating, there's a lot of plagiarism, there's a lot of what. So we always want to make sure your original idea, which you started with, is it still the same idea? We can follow it, and we can track the process, as we mentor you and as we guide you. So we want to avoid this process where people cheat and it's in the process. So you always attach your idea which you started. So this is like the structure of the proposal. And you have written everything. You have summarized everything which you want to go out and do in a proposal. And then from there, you go out and conduct your research. And because when you're in detail, research angle, this is the problem, these are the objectives, these are the specific objectives. And I'm going to go and do it in this area using this study design. I'm going to include these people and exclude this one. I'm going to sample people. You follow exactly what you've written in your proposal to go out and start doing and start conducting your research, which is mainly collecting data. And after you collect your data, you analyze your data. Then after analyzing your data, you then go to the next stage now, which is writing your research problem. You are now summarizing all those things which you did, and into a research document. And how is this structure? Is more or less the same. Remember, a research structure, a research project now, it is my chapter much. Don't imagine in my chapter. And Do any chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4, chapter G, chapter 5. Chapter 1, it's just this. Remember, the same introduction, the same background, the same problem statement, the same research, the same objectives, whatever, and you are writing is part of your proposal. They become chapter 1 of your document. Truth matter. Then your literature review, which you did as part of a proposal, becomes chapter G2. Your methods becomes chapter G3. And this is how you do how you did the research. Remember, so don't people they have this problem where they think these things are difficult. They are different. They are not different. You are just moving from an idea, which is the concept note. You expand your concept note into a full proposal. And this is outlining how you are going to do your research. And this then from that full proposal, what do? You collect your data and you analyze it, and to come up with chapter 5, chapter 4, the results and of your or the findings of your study. Then from the findings of your research, which is the chapter 4, you discuss your results. You write your discussion. What are the strengths and limitations of your study? What are the conclusion and what are the recommendations? You have your references, and you put all those appendices in the final document, which you can then submit again now to the college for marking. Are we together here? Because I think this is one of the most important things which people need to understand. Could the process, could you start from an idea, which is the concept notes. This idea, you expand it and to come to develop a proposal. And in this proposal, it is its specific sections, which I was outlining here. But for your proposal, you need to have this and this and this and this and this and this and this. Remember, in proposal, you are right in future tense. Right in future tense. What you want to do? That's the proposal. Truth matter. But when you're writing a proposal, you write it in future tense. Future tense. And what you want to do? You will be doing this. This is future. But when you're now writing your research, you are now through the research. What do? You now write in past tense. So you take the same methods which were in past tense. You now write exactly what you do now, and in past tense. Maybe what you might have suggested in the proposal is not what you finally did, and when you conduct your research. So because of that, you can then really need to write exactly what you did now in past tense. So it's the same thing. So by developing your proposal, if you develop your proposal, you have from your parents, it means you have already written your chapter 1, chapter 2, and chapter 3, but it will be in future tense. And what you're planning to do. But when you then finish what you've planned to do, and you then convert those things into past tense. So it's more like changing the text, the tenses, and which means you already have your chapter 1, chapter 2, and chapter 3. You get your results from data collection, and you collect your data, you analyze the data, and you get your results. You then discuss and your results in chapter 5, where you discuss your findings. You tell us your strengths and limitations, your conclusion, and your recommendations. You put the reference, and among your appendices, you put the same thing again, and you put your permission letters. And what were the permission letters which you use? The tools you use to collect your data, the concept note, and the proposal. Everything has to be in one. When you're submitting, you have to submit all of them in one document, because you want to see if there's a flaw. And it's like a flaw from your idea, from your proposal, then to the final research. Because most people, as I said, were a challenge of students who are cheating. They just look for other previous students who have done research. They try to copy their document, and change it, which actually is becoming a serious problem within the institute among some of the students. So we don't expect you to also fall in the same trap, because it's very easy. So a lot of you make very silly mistakes, in this research. I'll find time to discuss some of the common cheating or plagiarism which you have seen student doing. It's very easy to get you to see that this student is cheating. It's not very difficult. So please don't fall in that in that trip. Then the last page is your title page, and that's the title page for your page. Research go, and this is that's an example of a title page, which you put in front of your research before you do your spiral, before you do your spiral binding. So I'm not going to the detail of this, but it's just a simple thing here, which is there in your module. So please, let's understand these requirements in terms of process of developing a research in terms of these stages. And please let's follow these stages. And the next lecture, which we are going to be discussing now, we'll be discussing these stages one by one. If you check in your module, we'll be discussing all these stages. What are they? How do you come up with the research question? How do you come up with your objectives? How do you come up with, the methods? All these things, we'll be discussing them one by one as they are illustrated. If you check your module now, we go one by one, every section where we are discussing all these things one by one, where we'll be discussing these things one by one. So yeah, then from there, the next stage, you then develop your concept note, you bring it for approval. If it's approval, you go to the next stage, which is developing your proposal. If your proposal is approved, you go to data collection. In data collection, you analyze your data, you write your research, and finally submit. Otherwise, many things